The other thing we really liked was having other parents in there where we could listen to their story because they're a little further than us.
Welcome to Transforming the Toddler Years, a Core 4 parenting podcast for conscious, cycle-breaking parents ready to turn toddler tantrums into teachable moments. Hi, I'm Cara Tyrrell, a lifetime lover of littles, mom to 2 grown and flown girls, and an early childhood educator. Through the show, I teach you my collaborative parenting methodology for nurturing your little human's mind, body, and spirit. Because how you connect and collaborate in the first 5 years is how you raise happy, healthy kids who grow into the best version of themselves and find true success in school and life. Welcome back to the show. Today's guest is unique. I have Kaci here today, and she's going to talk to you about her transformative experience in the Transforming the Toddler Years course. She and her partner, Bryce, took the class when their son, Kaci, had just turned 2 and was at the height of his emotional tantrums. Today, she's going to share with you her biggest takeaways and how it's really helped calm their household, improve their connection, and their communication. I hope you enjoy this episode where you can really get a sneak peek of what it's like to be a graduate of the course. And if this is your season, I look forward to seeing you in our next cohort. Kaci, I am thrilled to have you here on the show with us. You and I met a good long while ago and started a journey together of being business women and moms, which ultimately led to you hitting the toddler years and coming into the Transforming the Toddler Years course and us working together in a different way. Welcome. Glad to have you.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So let's start with your little one. How old is he now, and what phase are you in?
He's like 27 months. So he's a little over 2 years old. And we are in the heart of, we're actually working past the tantrum phase. So that's a little bit about where we're at in our journey. So, yeah.
So what's interesting is when you and I met, you kept saying things like, oh my gosh, I have the easiest kid and I can't even believe it. This is just such an unexpected journey because people kept telling me how hard it was going to be. Can you take us back to those days when you were just kind of struck by it?
Yeah. So Kaci and Bryce have the same personality. They're very, very mellow. They're very observing. When they look at things, they observe with their mind and then their wheels get going in their head. And then and Bryce is my partner, but they translate it to their hands. And so he was one of those kids, or is one of those kids that really still to this day does it. And so his reaction process, unlike mine, which is I will react quickly. They do not. They pause. They really think about things. He's very much an old soul. So he really didn't have a lot of the tantrums at first. I know you mentioned he might be delayed or anything or something like that, but really, I think he was just a little bit behind on the tantrum scales. But when he hit that, it was just like a period of maybe 2 or 3 months. It was like, boom, different kid. And not that there was anything wrong with that, but we didn't know what to do. We're first time parents. It was deer in the headlights look, just don't hurt yourself. So, and then I should preface this with, we're both entrepreneurs. Bryce has done his gig for a long time, but when you're an entrepreneur, there's a constant stress, right? It's a whole lot different than being in an 8 to 5, which is where I was coming from and transitioning into a new budding entrepreneur. So we were just kind of dumbfounded and stressed out and had all of this extra stuff going on. So that's how we found you.
Yeah. And what a journey it's been. So you at one point told me that you felt like you found the course at the exact right time when he was just turning 2. Can you explain why that felt like such the right timing for you?
So with Kason, I actually looked at doing the course earlier. We had talked about doing it earlier, but I'm like, he's just not having those tantrums. And so glad we waited. And like I said, overnight, he literally just, it was like something had shifted and like emotions were coming up. And what do I do with these emotions? Okay, I'm going to have a fit. And so we needed something in that moment to really equip us with how to respond. And I didn't want to be the one that was just the screamer, like, I don't want that energy in my house. I want to really chill, calculated and not so much a reactive response. So I'm super glad I waited until he was getting to that point around that 2-year mark. That really helped us more than anything.
I'm just so glad to hear that. So, not everyone who's listening, but that the course has kind of this arc to it in that we start really in the space that you were just talking about, in that emotions, the humanness, the conscious space of our mindset and our perspective and seeing the world through your little boy's eyes. What did that do for you when you first started? Did you walk in thinking she's just going to throw strategies at me and we'll see if they stick?
I honestly kind of equivalent it to Cesar Millan, the dog trainer. It's not the dog's the fault. That's your issue on how you respond, your energy and all of that. It really the course has a lot of empathy as the main component and really understanding where they're coming from, how your child ticks. One of the things that was probably most helpful for us was, or for me at least, was understanding the delay and time that it takes for the information to get into the brain, how to process it, understanding that because they're little, they don't know. And when you're a new parent, you don't know either. So that was helpful for us. And so just having that as a tool was, and that sounds so basic, but it's not. When you're in the throw of it, you don't really understand, having those tools and having that information kind of preps you for how to respond correctly. That makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. And we spent a good chunk of time on the art of responding as opposed to following our historical reaction process. And then we moved into the intentional language component. And personally, as a teacher, that's one of my favorite spaces is giving you the words that match that conscious, calm, connected energy that you want to have in your household. And how did that transpire? What transformation happened in your house when you started using this new language?
That was probably the biggest game changer for us. Again, we didn't know how to respond. We knew what we wanted, but again, a lot of times, whether it's goals in life or whatnot, if you don't have an intention, you don't really have a direction. And when you get an intention, you get more clear on what you want. And so having the correct verbiage to be like, hey, saying your choices are this or this, it gave him more of the freedom to not say no, because that was the word he was using with us a lot. And so we were able to get him to do more things without a huge fight.
I say this to kids all the time, and now I say it to adults. It makes my heart so happy to know that these transformations can happen inside homes all over the country and beyond, and I'm nowhere near you. That you are taking ownership, you're creating that intention. And one of the things that we do in the course is we write our personalized parenting mission statement. What was that like for you looking as an entrepreneur, kind of looking at parenting from that goal-based, vision-based way?
I think it just really helped us stay on track. I think even Bryce would say that as well, going back, who do you want to be? What kind of parent do you want to be? How do you want that to look? What do you want your relationship to look like? Whereas if we didn't really have that, it would just be kind of like chaos, which is what, what it was prior. So yeah, now we have a little bit more organized direction and an intentional one. So
that's fantastic. So for people out there who are just starting to feel it, right? Their kids have just started full-time daycare or full-time preschool, and life is back to quote unquote normal at this point, right? We're post-pandemic and the stressors are back and it's crazy. There's less time in the morning to get ready. There's less time at night to wind down. For those people out there who still want that calm space that they had with their kids during the pandemic pause, what would you say to them about taking the course?
Especially like as a first time parent, it's nice to have some tools to do the job with. We didn't have anything, like I wasn't a babysitter growing up. Kids weren't my jam. Like I love having kids now, but like it just wasn't something I was overly fluent in. Like having that support, and really just even the other thing we really liked was having other parents in there where we could listen to their story, because they're a little further than us, and like they were going through potty training challenges and like understanding how to communicate with schools, how to communicate with your child, just little strategies that I wasn't really anticipating. It was just super helpful.
That's fantastic to hear. You're absolutely right. Having somebody to walk you through the curriculum is one thing, but having that group of like-minded families who really want the same thing, but are in different phases, it's so comforting. It's like taking that nucleus of your family and then expanding it just a little bit. So I want to ask you a question about that actually, because here's what typically happens. The moms see the course as an opportunity, are aligned energetically and say, yep, this is what I want. I know what I want. I don't know how to do it. I'm going to go figure out how. Then moms invite their partners and say, hey, I'd like to do this. This is something we need to do as a couple and it will benefit our family. And then you all show up and week one. And what I notice is that partners can often be a little bit more dubious or curious or skeptical about what this whole thing about taking a parenting class is all about. But over time and time again, I see those partners make these huge transformations. And that happened with your partner. And so I'd love if you could speak to that and just watching that evolution and what that was like for you.
Yeah. So Bryce, my partner, is a man's man. He's definitely of the standpoint of the old school mentality. Like we can figure it out on our own. We don't need help, blah, blah, blah. And I'm more of the standpoint, I don't have time to figure it out, nor do I have the patience. So I would rather get some help. So he took it. I don't want to say he was thrilled, but he was just very skeptical. But he actually, when he started listening when Bryce does something, he goes all in. And he's one of these guys that he takes the principles that he learns. Like once he'll take it, a little piece of it and try it. And then he got results. And then so he started doing more of the things. And that's when he really started getting into it. And the skepticism kind of faded away. And it was more of a determination. Mm-hmm. And Kaci really doesn't throw fits anymore. Like, sounds weird. He does, but it's not like the major meltdowns. And I think a big part of that has been the language we've both used together. And like, Bryce is better at it than I am. And like, he's correcting me and being like, you're not doing it right. So he just really flourished. And I think the result of that has been Kaci's meltdowns have decreased significantly again. And we're back to like, is my child really normal? Like I feel that feels awkward to say that, but he doesn't melt down nearly as bad as he was. So.
Oh, Kaci, just to hear that Kaci is feeling safe enough inside the space that you and Bryce have created to have those feelings and emotions like you're talking about, but know that you're going to work through them with him as opposed to try to get some Band-Aid solution for him to stop a behavior. That's all I need to hear. all I need to hear. It's so fantastic.
Yeah, I think the impact, just having that whole trust space, like, I don't know how to describe it. It's really made me closer to him. Like, as I mentioned before, like, I didn't grow up around kids. And for me, like, momming was like, I'm better at the career piece. So momming for me was just hard. But when we really started applying those, our connection really, really built. And it helps solidify a lot better, if that makes sense. So yeah.
Well, that is the tenet of the entire program. The idea that your relationship with your son is going to be so rock solid that you will continue to work through struggles as they pop up, because he won't be 2 forever. He'll be 3 and then 5 and then 7. And you will need to use these through his whole entire life. And the other thing that I'm hearing, and I hear it from a lot of couples, is that their communication was improved. And that helps just the overall tone of the home.
Yes, that was our case too, because like, so how our schedule works, we have to commute for daycare. It's 30 minutes away one way. And so for me, I will commute and I'll go get him. And then I've got a 30-minute drive. Case wouldn't be beforehand, he would be fried and melting down and all of the things. And when we get into the house, well, then you got to start supper, right? And I'm all by myself because Bryce's schedule is different than mine. And by the time he gets home, I'm so frazzled. And our communicate, all I want is silence. And so like when you get to that, your communication really breaks down. And with us, when we had tools where we could get him, like get Kason situated, we really started working together on, oh, this is what happened. And then what Bryce would be like, what if you try this? And then I would be like, what if we tried this? Like it really kind of helped us plan out our days more. And we've always been schedule people, but now more so than any, it's not just the schedule we have. It's like having prep just in case XYZ happens, like on our commute. Do we have the toys? And toys for us don't work. So it's snacks. Do we have certain kinds of snacks? Do we have a variety of snacks? Do you have them out like liquids? And I tried this new today. Here, try this. Like it's really helped us communicate on a much bigger level. So thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. Oh, such joy. You know, I originally called this course way back in its infancy, The Joy of Parenting. Of course, now I don't call that anymore, but it's really it's why I do what I do. Because parenting is supposed to be joyful. It's supposed to be fun. And I'm so glad that you have reclaimed some of that.
Yeah, me too. It's been a good experience.
Well, thank you so much for taking some time to share your experience and being willing to share it with all the other moms and dads who listen to the podcast and have been thinking about this for a while. Maybe this is their season, and perhaps one of them will be sitting here with me in a few months and be sharing their story.
Thanks for having me.
Until our next episode, stay mindful and proactive as you transform the toddler years.